what sort of got you into design in the first place?
Oh my goodness. We'll have to stop this episode and start a new episode at this point. It's that horrific. No, it's not horrific. It's a journey. It's a journey.
It always is.
Yeah.
The more horrific, usually the better. Hello and welcome to Did I Do That? It's a podcast about making graphic design and mistakes, such as not bringing my cards that have the intro to the show on them. I don't think it's important for you to know what the premise of the show is. I'm not going to tell it to you. You just have to guess. It's a show. There's graphic design. There's mistakes. It's up to you to kind of see where things are. I think I also say it's part of the process. This is going to be a real gangbuster one in terms of me remembering things, huh? And I'm joined today by a very special guest. He teaches at the University of Central Arkansas. He's a podcaster in the design space himself. It's Mr. Pete Bella. Hi, Pete.
Hey, Sean. Welcome.
Thank you for being here.
I love it.
We're not in the usual studio space, my dungeon at Portland State. This is a strange hotel room. It's a building that is pretending to be old.
Very much so.
And it is only 12 years old.
Yeah, it's remarkable, isn't it?
It's very remarkable. Like, they did a shockingly good job.
Yeah, it looks like a turn of the century, hotel space. It's amazing.
The lobby is all like wood paneling,
brass, and And when I say turn of the century, I should mention like 1900 turn of the century.
Yeah, there's not a lot of like Backstreet Boys CDs downstairs. I mean, there might be. I didn't check.
They're very well
the
could
gift
be
shop
behind that desk.
Yeah,
I bet you.
They loan out umbrellas if you get there early enough, but if you don't, then you can get the Backstreet Boys CD. And it's pretty good at covering your head except for the hole directly in the middle.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Yeah, it's a very strange place here this is the ETSU, Eastern Tennessee State University, I want to say, is what it is.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, it's definitely those words in some sequence.
Yeah. It was an interesting acronym myself. I was like, ESTU or ETSU?
ETSU phone home, yes.
I think East Tennessee State University.
Yeah, we were trying to remember last night what the mascot is. It is the Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers.
Terrible. They're nowhere near the ocean. There's no water anywhere.
Right.
Maybe the thing that they should be is the ETs.
The ETs.
Yeah.
They could phone home.
They could phone home. And
nice.
That would be a great rallying cry during the, sporting events.
Yeah.
Like, phone home. Phone home.
Very nice.
Like they tell their opponents, phone home and tell them how bad they were beaten or something.
There you go.
Yeah, something like that. I know how sports work. Absolutely.
The campus is quite beautiful.
The campus is beautiful. The area is very beautiful.
Oh, Johnson City, Tennessee. Very nice.
Driving here being in the back of a lift brought here. It was very interesting. Like, there's a lot of like beautiful nature out here.
What's interesting too is you come down the main drag to the university. There's all these old like railroad town mills, but they're all converted to these beautiful office buildings. And there's other places that you hear trying to do that. You're like, oh, go for it. And they kind of come close, but what they've done here is like remarkable.
Like, it's a beautiful little town. It's not particularly walkable. But
no, that's not so much.
I mean, I also haven't been to downtown, which you have.
Well, it's a college town, right?
It's a
small college town.
Yeah.
So there's a lot kind of located within a mile-ish from the university. So we got to experience white duck taco.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Where you actually had duck taco.
I actually had roasted duck taco, and it was fantastic. And the beautiful part is it's attached to a brewery. So there was nothing went wrong, right?
No,
it was perfect.
It's a wonderful pairing.
Well, the brewery that we stopped at, it's called Yeehaw. Yes, Yeehaw. And I had their dunkel.
Yeah, their logo looks better than that sounds like it would.
It does. Yeah.
Credit to them. They made the words yeehaw look classy.
Definitely.
Good dunkel?
Good dunkel.
Yeah,
the dunkel was a dark lager. It was almost a stout porter kind of mix, but there I go on my whole craft beer passion. So I'll try to refrain from that. Oh, and we can't forget to tell the folks that there's a distillery down the road that I just somehow happened to find.
What is the distillery?
Tennessee Hills.
Tennessee Hills.
And I ended up picking up a few things for home. A little Hellcat was the name of the gin.
All right.
And then you might end up censoring this out, but we'll see. They had a rye that was called Dead Pecker, as in cock the rooster, and it's on the label. So it was very tasty as well.
I'm not sure that's necessarily the effect you want to advertise from your
Yes,
from
yeah,
your alcohol, but okay.
yeah. Their naming was fantastic.
Yeah, if it works for them,
they had
then
fun.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
The other thing that's nearby, and I went to Starbucks. I took the nearly half-mile journey to the Starbucks this morning. And on the way there, I discovered a place, and you may have seen this place also. It is called Pals.
I've seen the sign.
Yeah.
I've seen the sign.
It's like an explosion. Their subtitle is Sudden Service, which is the least reassuring subtitle that they could have come up with. But on top of all that, like just strangeness, they have the most delightful blue building that has just like a museum of really bad 1950s roadside sculptural giant food, like the true like learning from Las Vegas duck type architecture.
Yeah.
And it's so phenomenally I'm going to pass my phone to you so you can see this.
Interesting. Okay, I get hot dog.
Yeah, hot dog makes sense.
But if it looked more like a hot dog would look.
Yeah, it doesn't particularly capture the essence of hot dog.
No.
It really is closer to hot dog costume.
And if my hot dog bun had this much flatness with curled ends, I would be concerned.
I mean, we're all trying to find the guy who did this. So the one that gets me the most on the very top, like there's this burger that is so big that it is like... it's creeping into the building and presumably takes up the entire interior of the building if you extrapolate out the diameter.
How did I not notice this?
I think we were all very tired.
Arriving,
I'm sure I passed this. But the very top, there's this thing of fries, which is maybe the worst advertisement they could have come up with for their fries, because it is this like giant hot dog, giant hamburger, tiny little micro... package of French fries, and they all look like they're burned too.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, it's very unappealing.
But somewhere someone did that.
Someone made all of those choices. I do wonder though if it was in stages, if they were like, well, we're selling fries now, so we've got to add fries to the outside.
And the budget was low, so
yeah.
Just a small package of fries.
Oh no, I learned from last time. You can't build the hot dog offsite. It's there's no way to get it here. So I am curious. So what sort of got you into design in the first place?
Oh my goodness. We'll have to stop this episode and start a new episode at this point. It's that horrific. No, it's not horrific. It's a journey.
It always is.
Yeah. Well, it started when I was a small child. And that's the weird part of this story is
It literally did.
Literally did. I don't think of myself as an extremely talented artist. I can make pictures, right?
Yeah.
And the pictures make sense.
Which I think is a very common thing among design. Like I think of myself much more as a problem solver than like anything. I'm not Leonardo da Vinci.
Right. Leonardo.
My flying machine. It is like a bat.
So I could draw as a child very, very well. When I was 7, I drew a picture of a cat, a horse. I was very into drawing animals, photorealistic, not like photorealistic like you see on Instagram, but for a 7-year-old, it looked like it was a high school student doing it. So I could draw, but I don't think of myself as an amazing artist or an amazing illustrator or anything like that, because I'm not. And even when I talk to students, I hear too many design educators tell students that want to be graphic designers, you have to be able to draw to be a graphic designer. And I'm like, well,
yeah, in 1968, absolutely.
Well, I throw some names out there, and I'm not going to do that now because some people might get offended, like, oh, they can draw, but I'm not going to do that. But what I'll do after that is I'll draw a triangle on the board, put a circle on top of the triangle, and then put a rectangle below the triangle. And if you can picture that in your mind, it looks like a little girl or a woman, right? Because the triangle makes the dress, the circle makes the head, and the rectangle makes the legs. So I draw that on the board, and I'm like, can anybody tell me what that is?
Structurally unsound snowman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's even better. There's some imagination. I got to keep that one. But
structurally unsound snowman is yours.
But ta-da, right?
Yeah.
I can draw. I can make a resemblance of quote a picture that people can understand the communication and know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's what graphic design is. So yeah, so I could draw. Every holiday, my mother would be like, Pete, come out here and show your auntie your drawings. Oh, and that ended up just, you get damaged as a child. Let's just say that, okay? Parents, be careful with your children. So apparently I could draw. I wasn't good for much else.
Children are.
Yeah, I drew, right? I didn't like to read. I still don't like to read. I hate reading.
Don't let the English professors hear
no,
you.
Right? I do like to write, but I'm a creative writer.
Yeah.
And I don't give a hoot about grammar or punctuation, and I put it where it makes sense for how I would speak the story, which you can already tell is pretty interesting if you had to write this and put punctuation into it.
That's Descript's problem.
There you go. Comma, asterisk, comma, comma, comma. See, that's all I know about grammar. Just throw commas. Oh, very nice.
Comes and goes.
Comes and goes.
And goes. I don't know any of the other words to the song.
Is that a rutabaga moment? It might be.
The thing that I've learned about this show is about, I would say roughly 50% of any episode is a rutabaga moment.
Oh yeah, so I had these embarrassing moments. And when it came time for middle school, high school, I tried music. I did sports. I played baseball. I played hockey. I played football.
Wow.
And I was athletic, but my mind was more complex. That sounds horrible, but my mind was more complex, right? It wasn't simply like, oh, I play on the football team. I was too busy thinking about like, all right, if this guy's coming at me from that angle and he hits me hard enough, so what I need to do is make sure that I turn my body a certain way. So,
oh God.
So I process. And my wife says, you overthink. But no, I process. So through all that, I could still go back to my art and process, right? And still think things through and work things through. So in high school, I had, God bless my art educators because they kept me safe. I wasn't your ideal high school student. I graduated high school. We're not sure how. And that is no exaggeration. My senior year, my in-school attendance was 40%.
Ooh, that's a bit low, yeah.
In school. So that doesn't mean I went to class.
Yeah.
That means I was in school and they realized I was there. Thank goodness he's here today.
Where were you?
Well, I was either in art class
or
I'd go to PE. It's like I'd go down to the PE room and be like, what are you guys doing? Dodgeball or whatever they were doing. I'm like, oh, can I hang out? So enough of the faculty in high school knew me and they were like, oh, he's in the building. Yeah, sure. Come on into gym class today.
Yeah, this sounds like a very chill high school.
And no, well, it depends who you ask. But I would have like guidance counselors like peek their head in through the door of like the art room and go like, oh, he's back there. Okay. And they're like, okay, he's here. He's good. And I wasn't a violent kid, wasn't fighting, wasn't causing problems, no vandalism, pretty clean kid. But because of the way I think and I overprocess, there were certain things that didn't make sense of why I had to like soak in this information.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, history's important, English is important. Like it is. But there was a certain point where I'm like, I think I've got what you need to give me, and I'm not getting any value from this.
There's no point in going the extended universe route with this.
Yeah. So that was just my path. So it was rough.
Yeah.
And even my guidance counselor called my parents in several times. Ooh. And the guidance counselor was like, your son will amount to nothing. He literally told them that in the hallway.
That's a fun energy. Cool.
And I wish we knew where he was today, because I, would love to tell him how, I'm a very successful design educator in a very good, prominent university, and I've taught at RIT, which is Rochester Institute of Technology, one of the top design schools in almost the world at this point.
I would say so.
So, I'd love to have a small chat with him and go like, amount to nothing. I mean, that's the interesting thing, and why I think I make a very unique special educator is because there's not a set path.
Yeah.
But back to my art teacher, Mrs. Romano, she really kind of said, if this is your passion, this is what you need to focus on in life. And she's the one that told me you need to go to college and look at possibly a career in the graphic arts. Yeah, that's what it was called back then. That kind of motivated me to kind of stick with my arts. And again, I wasn't an amazing painter. You know, there were students that were making way better work than what I was, way better ceramics or anything like that. But I think she realized that, like, I work through process, and it was just something that I was passionate about.
Did you really have a sense of like what the graphic arts were really at that point?
Actually I did, because in our art class in the senior year, we actually did a whole like unit, if you will, on graphic arts, graphic design.
Oh.
And she connected us with local businesses that needed advertising.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. So you were doing like actual stuff.
Yeah, and this is back in the day when everything was hand drawn, hand
Yeah.
rendered, rub on type, different things like that. So as high school students, we got to work with a local business, and we all did an ad for them. And then our ad got run in the local penny saver.
Wow.
Which
Do
was
you remember
cool.
what business you advertised?
I don't remember the name of it, but it was a transmission place.
Do you remember anything about the ad that you made?
Oh, yeah. Black and white. So it was all pen and ink.
Of course.
I actually had to render, well, I chose to. I rendered a transmission. So I drew out the entire transmission.
Oh
Don't
my
ask me
God.
what year, what model, or any of that.
That's a complicated drawing.
Yeah. And then we had to that's right, we didn't use any rub type. We had to hand do all the lettering.
Wow.
So I had some type that was reversed out. I had the big black header and different things like that. And for some reason, I understood a lot of the idea of like contrast and focal point and interest and direction and, your hierarchy of information, your heading, your subheading, your information, your call to action.
Your whole compositional thing just sitting out before you.
And all that made sense to me as a high school kid, which is odd, right? Most high school kids in our class are like, making ceramics and different things like that.
Yeah.
But
here's an apple.
Yeah. So, so that kind of got me into it. I did then head off to college. I come from a blue collar family, making ends meet. Community college fit.
It's a great place to start.
Oh, it is. My first experience was only one semester because a couple things happened. One, the freedom of college. It wasn't the same as high school where everybody was trying to like conform you to follow this regimen.
Yeah.
So freedom was a problem.
Yeah. There's no truancy officers at the community college.
None whatsoever. And they actually give you like things to do, like student life, right? So I found a lot of time playing ping pong. I found the radio club. I found all these things that I could explore, and I was welcomed with open arms, and nobody had any expected outcomes for you. It's like, hey, that's cool. So I did lose a little focus on the college experience then, but I went for that semester, flunked out, got myself composed, went back later on. As soon as you have that moment where you realize like, okay, I made mistakes.
Yeah.
But now I realize that, hey, I know what I need to do, and I know what I need to get there. So I did that and then went off to my 4-year college, and man, it was just the right path.
Do you think you needed that experience of having that first term that was just like, this is a wash
in
order to find the value in it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I would suggest more students coming out of high school to not just jump into college unless they're fully convinced 100%. They've gone through everything. They've processed it all out. They know what they need. They know where they're at with their art or their design.
Yeah.
And it's like, boom, boom, boom. Here's where I'm going. Here's what I want to do with my career when I get done with my college education. Those students, go for it. Get into that college education, go for it. Otherwise, I think every student coming out of high school needs to breathe for a moment, needs to have some fun, have some responsibility, find, the balance of what's needs to be serious in life and what needs to be fun in life, and then enroll in college.
Yeah.
It would make a big difference. My community college was at a great place, Erie Community College, which is in Erie County, just outside of Buffalo.
Oh, sure.
So I grew up in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
So I did that community college there, and I knew what was going on in my 4-year degree. Little context. The year was
In the year.
it was 1986. Okay. just a few years prior, this amazing company came out with this amazing machine called the McIntosh.
The McIntosh, you say?
The McIntosh.
This is a home stereo system, I believe.
Similar,
Yeah.
yet different. Yeah. So when I was looking at the 4-year schools, I would walk in and I'm like, where's your graphics computers? You guys don't you guys don't have Macintosh computers? And the faculty would look at me like, who are you? First, and when I wasn't going to tell them I was a delinquent high school kid. So this goes back to my whole process thing, right? Yeah. So here's someone graduating in 1986 from high school, knowing about this thing called the Macintosh and the direction graphics were going. Who does that as a 18, 19-year-old 2 years after a big company says it's going to change the world? So no,
they're gonna throw a sledgehammer through a projector screen.
Yeah,
that symbolizes IBM, I guess.
Yeah, but oddly enough, no college campus had these computers. So I'm like, well, okay, that's not the route to go. So the community college was the choice while I was trying to figure out, okay, where am I going then? So community college, more tech focused, right? So it was, oh my gosh, it was a huge long name.
They always are.
Yeah, like something like visual arts and printing and communication technology. And why I'm moving my hands right now like a robot, I have no idea.
I feel like they just put some words up on a wall and threw darts at them.
Well, they wanted to be the program that does everything in 2 years.
Oh, good.
But they had a great speaker come in. His name is Frank Romano. And those in the printing world, and even those in the graphic design world would hear Frank Romano and be like, oh my gosh, he's a legend. And so he came in and spoke with our class. And he was from Rochester Institute of Technology, which is where I got my BFA from. It's where I worked as a professional for many, many years. Great university. But Frank came in and he talked about the printing program. So because I was in a tech school, it made sense for a 4-year school to come talk about how they can continue this education in printing. So I talked to him, set up a meeting, went out to RIT, sat in his office, and he showed me all the stuff and, awesome printing presses and pre-press and plate making machines and all that old school stuff. And I was like, but I want to do more of the making. I want to be more on the creative end.
Yeah.
And instead of him pushing me to go into his program, he's like, you know what? He goes, let's take a walk upstairs to the design school and meet some of the folks upstairs. And that's what we did. We went upstairs and I met the people at that program, and we got to talking and everything like that. And here's the odd thing. When I did get back to my community studies and finish that, I was like top graduating student.
Really?
I was no longer that delinquent high school student. It's because I was focused on what I wanted.
You found your thing.
Yeah. And not being told like you must go learn physics, It's like, no.
You must take this astronomy course where you observe planets in the brightest city in North America.
And world economics. I heard it was a great class. I have no idea.
The name doesn't make it sound like it is.
Yeah.
Very unappealing.
And that's the beauty of college life, right? Is you get choices.
Yeah.
You're like, you have to take 2 electives in this area. And you're like, okay, but I have 100 to choose from.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll find something that fits, So then, got to RIT. And at this point, I was a non-traditional student because I took some time off. It wasn't because I found ping pong in the radio club, but it had more to do with the computer, the Macintosh. I wanted that tool to be a part of my education and a part of me entering into the workforce because I wanted to be cutting edge.
Yeah. You could already see that the old ways
is the way
of
to
paste
go.
up and stuff, they were gone. They were going to go.
Yeah. The irony of it all is you can't use that machine without that knowledge of what came before it,
Yeah.
So one, I'm super glad that I did the community college and learned the old school way and then sat in front of a computer, and then it made sense.
Yeah.
It's like the reason that guides are blue is because of a blue line pencil on paste up. It's not just because they thought it would be a great color. It's so that it made sense to transition those in the profession to a different tool.
Yeah.
And all the artboard and all the different things, everything about all that software is totally related to the analog system. Even in photography, film editing.
Oh, yeah.
All that,
When you get into like camera raw and stuff like that, it's just like being in a dark room. You're changing light exposure and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's getting harder and harder to teach our young students.
Yeah. I noticed that they have a dark room here, and I'm jealous because I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think any school that I know of still has a real dark room.
Ours does still.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
UCA
lucky.
still has. And I hope it stays. We're getting a new building. It's an amazing space.
Oh, congratulations.
But yeah, thank you. I'm excited for it too. I've been teaching long enough and hearing so many great stories about how one day we will get a new building. It's coming.
I love that that's a universal.
It is.
That we
It
all
is.
have.
Yeah,
Someday the new building will come and save us.
exactly. Right.
Smite our enemies.
Which is interesting because there's so much technology in arts. But then the business department gets a brand new building, but all they do is stand in front of a whiteboard and talk.
Oh, but it's a bigger whiteboard now.
Yeah.
It's one of those smart ones that takes
So
notes
smart.
for you or something.
Yeah.
Never been entirely sure what those do or why they exist.
Too much tech. Too much
Yeah.
tech. That's it. So the professional world, man, this is a long journey. I told you. I'm like, you asked.
They always are.
You asked.
Yeah.
I did several internships, a design agency, an advertising agency, a public relations agency. I've done freelance design from when I was 16. I started sign painting when I was
Wow,
16.
really?
And then my professional career, though, I ended up working in education as a designer,
Yeah.
which again is very bizarre if we go back to talk about my high school days. Like, your professional career now is in education. Okay. Started at the University of Missouri, Rolla, which has a bigger name now. They changed that. And then I started working at Rochester Institute of Technology, my alma mater, and as a senior designer there. And I worked there for 12 years.
Oh.
So I designed their athletics mascot, shifted it from the one they had during the 80s and 90s, made a bit more contemporary version of that. There's a whole nother hour podcast on that discussion. Because admissions started the process, which is weird, right? Admissions was like, let's make a new athletics logo.
That is very weird.
Yeah.
Why would they care? Is it a draw?
There was a lot of energy around the athletics because the hockey team during that time was what's the right word? The word that's hopping in my head is elite, but that wasn't it. They were just stunning. They were remarkable. So the energy on campus with athletics was intense. So admissions wanted to capitalize, right? So I did a rough rendering. It was as far as quality goes. And they're like, okay, yeah, we like it. Let's push it a little bit farther. So I started the design for it. Design was going well, but there was something quirky about it. I'm like, it's just not, something just isn't right with it. And sure enough, the athletics department caught wind that we were working on it because I also did a lot of the publications for the athletics department. So I was, good friends and colleagues with those folks.
So the athletics department didn't even know that this was happening until this stage of the process.
Yes, exactly. So we had a very, and I don't know if he's still there. So I should be cautious because he was very proud of his athletics department, the guy that was running athletics.
Yeah.
And he definitely said, well, there's no way that some clown in the administration is going to be working on our athletics logo. That's ours and our property. So I had to hand over all the work that I did. Like
literally hand over
all the illustrations.
Oh my God.
All my work in Adobe Illustrator, everything that I had created thus far, I had to give to them. And they hired an outside agency from another town to finish it. Which was fine, but I always bring this point up too, because we talk about this in class, right? We talk about these, as you said, mistakes and whatnot through our professional experience. If you look at the head of the tiger, RIT tigers, it's great. If you look at the rest of the tiger, it's great as well, right? But I'm sure the layman doesn't see it, but as a designer, they basically took what I had created and then designed the body. And they polished it up a little bit. They polished the head up. And they did a great job.
Yeah.
They polished it up and it looks wonderful, right? I was very proud of that. But then they did the rest of the tiger's body, the four limbs and the tail, and he's pouncing through the air. And you can look and say, that head is attached to a body. It's not done in the same vein.
A little Frankenstein, perhaps?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the layman won't notice it. But if you point it out and you start looking at it, you're like, yeah, that doesn't quite match up. But But I think only a trained eye is going to pick up on it.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know.
sure that it's only printed everywhere on
gosh.
every piece of merchandise that the school is selling.
Exactly. You know, it's a proud moment. They're still using it. That same energy of how well the team was doing, they went to the Frozen Four.
That what?
Yeah.
That's what it's called?
Yeah, it's called the Frozen Four. Yeah. And in the Northeast.
That seems like the punishment one. That's where the worst teams should go.
The Frozen Four.
Yeah. The Tropical Four maybe is the victory.
Yeah. Held in Detroit, Michigan, right? Where else would you have a Frozen Four? But in Detroit. I think they move around though, but that's where it was.
It's got to be somewhere cold.
Yeah. So there's this tiger head that I had created. I didn't finish, but you know, I'm still the original designer. And even the publications department, which is the department I worked under, said, no, you are the designer of that. And I thought that was very respectful, even though an outside agency finished it.
Yeah.
You know? But they still gave me credit.
That is so weird too, that they would just like not, I mean, I guess it must have been to their benefit as the outside agency just to be like, well, we like this and we don't want to reset the process entirely.
Yeah.
But then why was athletics so angry?
Well,
just like ownership.
Yeah, there wasn't a problem with where the
work
design was
good.
going.
Yeah.
And it was even, so there's a bronze tiger statue on campus of an actual tiger that lived on campus back in the 40s.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes. RIT had a real live tiger mascot that lived on campus.
Where?
I don't know the details.
What?
Yeah.
Just
I don't.
free roaming?
Richie the tiger.
Richie the tiger.
Yeah. And
Richie the tiger devoured 4 freshmen today.
yeah, right? Yeah, he just hung out in the student lounge.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Always smoking weed in there. God, Richie, just like, oh, go back to your dorm.
Yeah. Oh, Richie. He lived a good life though. And, you know, then he had the statue, but then I used that and used my designer's eye and found the right angle and perspective.
Yeah.
And the athletics logo is then designed around that sculpture and the roaring tiger.
Yeah.
But it just comes down to, you know, and this is the important part of the conversation, is you really have to know who the players are.
Yeah.
And you have to know their attachment, who gives approvals, who says yes and no. This athletic director, he was a very successful director of the athletics department, but he also was very proud and had a lot of ownership.
Yeah. And probably a lot of power
maintain.
Within the university.
Yeah. When your teams are doing that well, you can go to the president and say, hey, this is how it's going to roll.
Some other departments decided to redesign my logo. That doesn't seem good.
Right. So as just the mere senior designer, many steps down that escalator, you just kind of go, okay.
Yeah.
Here's all the work that I've done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's navigating that type of water is very hard. Very hard.
So, I mean, that wasn't necessarily a mistake where I was like, did I do that? But that was definitely like, did I do that? So, you know, the whole imposter syndrome. It's like, yeah,
it's all about
that.
The intonation. Yeah.
Yeah, I did do that.
Yeah.
But my biggest mistake was more like a frat party hazing moment for a designer. I was an intern at a advertising agency, and they gave me a project to work on. All I can remember is it's either GLM or GML. It might be GML. But what it was a company that was business to business, and they provided herbs in more of like the powder formula or whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
and these
it's
are
just weird.
These are not air quote springy noise herbs. These
Herbs,
are actual herbs.
Right. Roots and different things for the medical industry and health industry. Oh,
this
wait.
Still
this is
sounds
still going,
very suspect.
It's still going the wrong way.
Yeah.
So
a guy will sell them to you and it's normal and there's no problems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they said, hey, the folder is in the drive. Go ahead, dive in there. There's needs to be a campaign. There's 3 different ones that we're working on now. And it's like hibiscus, some weird roots, and some other plant, whatever. I was like, all right, cool. And all the copies written and everything. So, well, that makes it a lot easier.
That's great.
Right.
The idea of having all your content up front. Oh,
yeah.
what
So
a gift.
I've got copy and I've got pictures, but that's it. Like pictures of the herb or the root or whatever, but that's it, and it's a transparency. Someone already had cut it out for other advertisements for this company and whatnot.
Oh, dang. So very convenient.
Very convenient. So I'm like, all right, well, here's my chance to shine as an intern. I want to make my impact with this advertising agency that was super creative. They did all kinds of really profound, really cool ads.
Yeah. And you are interns, so you really want to get that attention on you. Like,
yeah, let me show them my chops.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the one had some copy that was good, but I told you I like to write, and I like to write creatively. So I took it upon myself to wordsmith what was already written. So I just added a few words, to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
Because it was very dull. Okay, I did say earlier it was business to business.
It's business to business selling herbs. That's not going to be exciting.
Right. And it shouldn't be, which is where it all went wrong.
Oh, no.
So I took it upon myself to wordsmith this so it's more creative and more fun. And I wrote something about it being heavenly and, the powers that it has to heal. Right?
Absolutely.
So what else would you do but find a picture of a monk looking to the sky with his hands open, and not your traditional monk, some kind of goofball that you'd see in like the Three Stooges.
Oh, of course. A Mel Brooks film.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, all black background behind him. So it's a very low key photograph, lots of contrast with his hands kind of open, looking at the skies going, and the heavenly powers of this herb. And they wanted concepts. That was my task as the intern. So there were some kind of under the breath chuckles. The feedback I got was, that's really not the direction that we hoped this would go in.
Ooh.
But then later that day, as I was exiting my internship for the day, there's that ad posted up, and we'll call it the war room, on the wall so everybody could see my great creative work. And to this day, I don't know if it was like a hazy moment where I was the butt of all jokes, or if it was like, "Yay, this kid's really creative. He didn't do it for the right project, but look at his great work."
Well, it's a fun concept.
Yeah.
Like,
no, if it was on the fridge, maybe. But it definitely was. It wasn't.
It's got
on
a
the
little
fridge.
letter magnet holding it up.
Yeah, but it was definitely on display. So I didn't know how to take that.
Oh,
it's weird.
Yeah, that's not a great feeling.
No, it was very uneasy.
Yeah.
Because in my eyes, it was a good ad. It was, it was very catchy.
Yeah.
Funny.
It brings energy to this thing that is completely devoid of energy.
Exactly.
Even the tiger is not excited about these herbs.
But it wasn't the direction that they were looking for. No, I didn't lose the internship or anything like that.
How long did it stay up?
Oh, a couple weeks, I think.
Oh God!
Yeah. It wasn't just like the
no.
afternoon. It was up there for a couple weeks.
That's too long.
Yeah.
That's much too long. I think even if I felt good about that at the beginning, a week or two in, I would be like, "Oh God, it's still there."
But you wish you would have gotten a little bit more information. One,
context,
out of the gate,
very important. Yeah.
It's like, this is who the company is. You get to here's their persona. Here's about them. Here's where they do their business, and get all that information.
Who they're trying to appeal to.
That's why I think it was hazing though, because it was just like, hey, make us an ad, wink, wink, right? And all the senior designers and art directors are all looking over the edges of the cubicles, going, "What's going to happen?"
Yeah. It has all the things that would indicate that it's like a test to see what you can do.
Right. Or a bunch of 12-year-old kids that showed up on the farm and they're playing around the pig pen and they're like, "Hey, let's throw a chicken in the pig pen and see what happens."
Oh, Jesus.
That's kind of what it felt like,
That chapter of Charlotte's Web has been excised, I think. Charlotte did not have good things to write about in that one.
Right. Yeah, what do you
Pig hate chicken.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest moments of, again, it was hard to navigate because I didn't know if I should be embarrassed.
Yeah.
It was very confusing.
But I mean, you did good work, and you did good work within the confines of what you'd been given, which was just content and nothing else.
Right.
And that's impressive.
Or it was like, "Hey, the intern's coming in today. What do we do with him?"
Oh God.
It
Yeah.
could have been that.
We can't have him get coffee again. He's got to do some design thing or
Right.
else. What else did you do in that internship?
Oh, goodness. And that's funny because I don't really remember much else. And I was there for 3 months,
That's a pretty long one. Yeah.
But the rest of it, I'm scarred. I don't remember
That one,
much else.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's going to stick with you.
Yeah.
Much as it stuck to the wall of the war room.
Yeah. They were a great agency, though. And it was them that helped me along on my career, too, that sent me on to my next internship. So they definitely, set me on the right trajectory and, my freelance work. And we learned a lot about the business of freelance, through them afterwards.
So, I mean, it was a very important moment, and it sent you on the trajectory to do other things and then bring you back into the fold of academia.
Yes, yeah.
To be an academia nut.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother, for another time, if we ever get another conversation together, how I got into academia. Because I was doing very well as a professional designer. I had a cushy job and great benefits, and there was nothing wrong with life. I got a little taste of teaching, of guiding some young people on being creatives. I was like, man, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. And here I am. Yeah.
The siren song, it lures you in.
Yeah. And it's all smoke screen. What is it? Mirrors and Sean, help me out.
Smoke and mirrors?
Smoke and mirrors. Yeah. There was plenty of smoke and mirrors. There was
plenty in that tiger's dorm room, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I got to stop talking about the tiger.
Yeah. It could have been. Well, it did happen on that campus. But there was very little discussion of my faculty, my old professors, that when we got to talking about teaching, there was very little of heeds of warning or, by the way, this comes with baggage.
This system's excruciating dumb for no reason.
Yeah. I think they just knew I'd be a great educator. And that's what they told me. And they're like, we've been waiting for you. And I was like, what? And, the whole imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Right. We've talked about that a few times, alluded to it.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. And that's one thing that everyone will experience forever.
Forever. Okay? You never stop.
No. So you just have to know that you are good at what you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there in the first place.
Yeah.
Someone would not have asked you to join them and be part of their team.
Yeah.
If you weren't. So even though we make mistakes, even though we do things where like, oh God, did I do that? Right. Yeah.
You've said it 3 times. Now we've summoned Urkel. Oh God.
Yeah. But guess what? You're still awesome at what you do, and there's still a place for you at the table. So don't let those things make you decide not to do what you love.
That is a beautiful message for us to end on. Thank you so much for being here, Pete, for taking some time out of this conference to sit down with me.
Oh, you're very
hang
welcome.
out in my weird hot hotel room.
Right.
If people want to find more about you and your podcast and your work, where can they go to locate these things?
Well, thank you very much. My podcast is called Design Dedux. So designdedux.com. It's also on Instagram. There's an underscore somewhere between design and Dedux. So, make sure you check that out. It's linked on the website. You can go to petebella.com. And from there, you can see I got 3 different tabs. One is me as an educator. One is me as a business owner. I do own a small business where I do videography, photography, and design. And then the other tab there is Design Dedux. And that's the podcast where you can get all the information. And my podcast is interestingly audio, and I do have a YouTube channel that has the podcast recorded. You can see the people talking, which is something I really love. I see video podcasts where they just have like bars moving, right, as people talk with a picture. But I'm
who wants to watch that?
Yeah, I want to show the people. So my podcast definitely has the people present in them. Check it out. I would love it.
And especially if you are interested in the design and education space, like
Design
Dedux is fantastic.
That's the thing of it. Design Dedux, and everyone's like, Dedux? I've not heard that before. I've heard Harvard Redux. But Dedux is derivative. And that's the way I look at design, is we're not redoing.
Yeah.
Everything's a remix. And so so that's where Design Dedux come from. And the tagline's creating success in design education. So it's for students, it's for educators, it's for professionals even.
And a great one
Everyone.
to start with is, this was sort of what we connected on. You had past guest and my colleague, Briar Levitt,
Oh,
on an
yes.
episode talking about design histories.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Thank you again so much for being here. Now I don't have my close of show card, so I'm going to...
Did you do that?
Did I
I
do
keep
that?
doing it. Why do I want to do that? It's just a clever.
Well, it's
Clever name.
I mean, that's why it was on every T-shirt for
perfect.
several years, along with his many other catchphrases, which were both less memorable and more problematic.
Definitely.
But yeah, so thank you to you, the person who is listening to this show. If you enjoyed hearing the show, congratulations to you on doing that. And you may want to celebrate it. And what better way could you have to celebrate it than to go on the website that you use to listen to the show and rate it? 5 stars, if you could. Helps people discover the show. And I think there's another thing that I say, but I don't remember what it is. So maybe I'll put it in post. Anyway, I am Sean Schumacher. This is Did I Do That? And as we always say, Deborah? Okay, bye. Why would I reference a thing that I'm definitely going to cut out? What a dumb...
It's just what we do.
It's just what we do. Thank you so much. But so you were a...
Oh yeah, I was telling
You
you
were
my
a great...
story.
Yeah.
I was telling you my story. My gosh.
This is how this show works. Yeah.
Well, thank goodness, because this is how my mind works. I have rabbit holes that go into other rabbit holes
Yeah.
that intersect with mole holes, right? Back into wormholes. And it's just
Oh no, you'll
it's
go to the Gamma Quadrant.